I can tell you that it's a timely episode presented by Social Change Fund and Michelle Obama's organization, When We All Vote. This is mainly to have a real honest conversation dedicated to all the things voting, as we 15 days away out of the election. So with that being said, tell me a little bit, tell us about your experience with voting as of now.
Man, my experience. I think a lot of credit definitely goes to my folks, to my parents, right? Like we talk about it all the time. I was fortunate to have mom and dad, and I was a young kid and saw them go vote, right? Like I remember they went up the street, and I tagged along maybe once or twice. Didn't really know much about it, just knew that they were going to vote. And then as we got older, like I think about when we first came into the league, we didn't pay no attention to politics. You know what I'm saying? We playing video games and all that stuff. And, I think back to the 2008 election. I think that was probably one of the first times we really got a chance to vote as far as the presidential election. And I remember I felt a sense of power, right? Like my voice was somewhat being heard, right? And I remember actually the act of going to vote. And it just made me feel like an adult. You know what I mean? It made me feel like I was a grown up. And over the years, it's been baby steps, but I feel like I'm learning so much more now I was then. And we talk about it all the time. We got to keep learning.
What was your experience when the first time you voted? Like what you felt? Like you felt like you was doing something good. You felt like, oh, I just had to do it because my parents wanted me to do it, or like what was your feeling?
Man, that's a good question. Part of it was, I need to do it, right? But I don't think I was educated enough. Like I don't think I knew enough. Man, I got in there and I was looking at that ballot. One thing, something like to vote on. All these other questions was on there, and you like. All right, I'll pick that person, or
right,
that name sound cool. I'll pick that person. And I don't know, you just start to understand that it's bigger than just the presidential election, right? Like the president is not necessarily determining what's happening with the school system in your neighborhood, or the stores that's gonna be on the corners, or the streets and all that stuff. That's not necessarily the president, and so it's a process.
We often talk about, especially on here, I talk about, and we've had conversations about it, the education of voting, and how the younger generation and even the older generations too, right? We all need to be educated on voting, and for the longest we've had a lack of education when it came to voting. That's why people, decided to not vote, or they feel like they vote is not important. Let's elaborate on the educational part when it comes to voting, how important that is.
Man, it's important to have them conversations. Like think about us in our group chats. You know what I mean? Like how we talk about so much, we laugh and we joke, but we started talking about it like amongst us. You know what I mean? Right. About how important these different issues are to our families, to our kids. If you even think back to the way everything started with the ESPYs, right? That was in our group chat. That was me, you, Bron, and D. And that wasn't like some funny meme or whatnot, and we do that too, but that was us having a real conversation about what life looks like, what social justice looks like. And we've continued to build, but this voting is real. And these conversations, because I don't know it all. When I got to join When We All Vote with Michelle Obama, that gave me another sense of purpose, right? And then Angela Rye, who, like, she has been an unbelievable teacher and talking to me about like voter suppression. And then you start reading up on books and you're like, man, it was all these polls in 2008. And then in 2016, they've been torn down. You know what I mean? So voter suppression is real. It's not just a joke. Like they really don't want you to vote.
So you mentioned Angela Rye, kind of gave you some information, kind of your, I don't want to say mentor, maybe she is, but somebody you look up to for information that gives you insight on voter suppression per se.
Right.
How important it is to have, and I would say in our position, we always feel like we got it figured out, right? That's just who we are. We've been able to figure it out our whole career on the court, some things off the court. But how important it is to have that group of people around you or surrounding you, giving you that information and being able to have that dialogue where we all can still learn and be educated and be able to go out there and articulate some of the things that we may not feel comfortable with, but we know that we part of these uncomfortable times. Like how important it is to have that team around you, or just a group, just somebody you can talk to.
Yeah, and the part I think that usually makes most people uncomfortable is the feeling of not knowing it all, right? Like you don't want somebody to make you feel like you're dumb or you're stupid or something like that. But sometimes that's just needed. I know I needed it.
We all do. We all do.
And so to be a part of When We All Vote, and then I got a chance to talk to Angela, and I never forget, she was like running all this stuff off to me, and I was like, dang, for real? Like that happens, you know? Because right? So I've been fortunate enough, obviously through the pandemic, I got connected with Killer Mike, right? And so that's somebody else that's been just unbelievable in teaching. And it goes back to what we talk about all the time, Yellow, and that I think sometimes we become so dependent on our schools to teach our kids, to teach us. And at some point, we got to do the teaching, and we got to teach each other along the way.
What would you say? I mean, we talking about voting a lot, but it's important. What would you say to the people that would say that, oh, my vote doesn't matter? Because we hear that all the time. And I know for me, I was one of those people, you know, a while ago where it was like my vote don't matter. Like it's not going to matter. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Like, what do you say to the people that's making that decision and saying that today?
I mean, Yellow, we've been in the league. It's plenty of guys that once upon a time that was like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they may feel like they're in a situation where they're good and they don't need to worry about that. But the other thing is we got to tell our family members. We always say like we 0.000000001% of our family that gets the opportunities or make the type of money that we make, right? So my thing is I get it, first and foremost, for the people who be like, man, what am I voting for? That ain't going to change my neighborhood. That ain't going to change, you know, my circumstances and what's going on. But we got to understand that you do have the ability to do that, especially in those 2-year elections, right? When you vote on those elected officials, whether it's the chief of police, all these different people they're appointed. And so the importance of community, right? The importance of community. I think the election separated by maybe 27,000 votes or something like that. Like that's not that many people in the grand scheme of things, right? So Absolutely we tell, like, think about it. We tell people, they tell some people or whatnot. There's power in numbers, so you can change it.
So you walk you'll mail in or you in person voter?
I'm an in person usually, but you know the way COVID set up. You know,
the way things are set up right now, I don't really know about that.
But I've always, I mean, I've liked going, right? I like going. It may seem like real childish or like a kid, but you get your sticker. You know what I mean? Like it's something, and it's something.
So that leads to my next question. Tell us about When We All Vote, because I know that's a major program campaign, and you are a major part of that campaign, along with some other prominent figures that's out there. So talk to us about your role in When We All Vote, and just how did that come about, and why that organization in particular?
Yeah, so When We All Vote, which is an amazing organization. It's crazy. You think about it, Yellow, and all the stuff that we have going on at times. When you think about being a part of something, you're like, man, do I have time, right? but you make time for the things that you want to be a part of. And I'll say this too: anytime our forever first lady calls, you don't even ask no questions. You don't even ask no questions. You like, oh, that bridge there. All right, I'm gonna land on my feet, right? And like, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, because if I'm not a part of When We All Vote, right, it just gave me a whole nother sense of purpose. And that's When We All Vote's goal, is to encourage people, especially young people, to get out and vote.
What I mean, I would like to know this too. What's the overarching goal for When We All Vote, for the campaign? What's the overarching goal? Like, what is it?
Shoot, the overarching goal is to get as many people out to the polls as possible. So figuring out ways to partner with other organizations that are doing the work, right? So When We All Vote is working with More Than a Vote. Obviously, they helping us with our social change fund, because we've also identified other reasons why people can't vote. So voter suppression shows its face in a lot of different ways. And so everyone doesn't have the access to the polls, right? And that's why I'm Lyft and HBCU, all these different things that we don't always know. There's people on the ground When We All Vote, making things happen. And understanding that it's not just about this election that's coming up, right? So even though November 3rd is very important, it's about November 4th. And how do we show up for the next elections?
That's also, we talked about education, right? That's knowing, that's being educated on what really matters. And that, is it about November 3rd? Yes, but it's more to it. It's a lot more to voting and being understanding and educated on just what's happening, right? And the moral of the story is go out there and vote. Like, that's the moral of the story, right? That's educate yourself. Don't feel like you're stupid or dumb for asking questions on something that a lot of us don't really know. Majority of us don't really know. It's not educated on that. So to everybody out there, don't feel like you're stupid or dumb for asking questions about how to vote, when to vote, where to go at the vote, who to vote for. Because again, we are a community, and we trying to take care of everybody.
And understand it too, Yellow, my fault. And understand it too, that when you don't vote, that's almost a vote in itself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know it sounds crazy, it sounds tricky, but I remember when I heard that for the first time, I was like, man, that kind of makes sense. When you don't vote, you sort of making a vote in the fact that you're not participating.
How can people get involved? How can people get involved?
Well, man, you can always go to whenweallvote.org, right? And just see all the different things that's going on. And that's the thing too. There's more than just voting, right? People can volunteer or anything, but as we always talk about, put it in your group chat. Put it in your group chat and see how people react. I mean, it depends on what chat it is. All these different chats you got, how different people gonna react. But don't be afraid to ask, like, the different props. Like we was talking about it earlier, like, community is important. It's important to have those conversations. You ain't necessarily got to be like crazy political and be like, well, I was watching CNN, they said this. I'm voting for this part. I'm saying, but just at least have the conversation so that it's not so overwhelming when you do get your ballot. And because, I mean, that ballot could look like SAT, man.
Hey, that's a fact.
SAT, it look like ACT, whichever one of them you want it to look like. But
that might scare me alone by itself, just looking at it.
Yeah, you want the Scantron, huh? So it's one of those things, man. With anything in life, it's preparation.
That's a great point.
You prepare.
And that also, not to cut you off, but that transitioned into something else, right? Because you got everybody. I say we did it, but you should get a lot of the credit on this, because you were able to get 90% of the NBA to register. You
my brother, and you gonna shortchange us like that, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, cut, edit, fix that.
Well, give me the number.
We over 95% now.
Okay, I didn't want to say over 95%. I'd rather, it's okay, 95%, 97%. 97% of the NBA is registered to vote because of you, your voice, your stance, and just the amount of attention that you brought to that, right? And I remember sitting in the bubble having these meetings with you, and we was nowhere close to north of 95%. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as registered voters in the NBA. Now we're north of almost at 100%. How did it get to that? How did you bring everybody together? What was your message? And how do you feel seeing that we're above 95%?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I ain't gassing, this ain't cap or nothing, but it wouldn't have happened without you either. Like for real. Like, the conversations that we had, like the morning of that second meeting that we had, and being in that room with them guys, I think, Yellow, that's something we'll never forget. Like
never.
All of us, I don't think we'll ever forget the conversations that we had to have, and that statistic that less than 20% of our league. I mean, you remember when I said that in the room? When I said that in the room, it's one of those things, you know how it worked. Like when I said it, I sort of cringed a little because I knew that it was going to be like public knowledge, right? I knew everybody was going to know once we got out of the meeting, but I think everybody in there sort of started to look at themselves like, who? Like, did you vote? Did you vote? And it was crazy that next day before we played games, felt like all the media heads had that one talking point, right? All the media heads, they talk about the big meeting that we had, and they'd be like, but only 20% of them voted in the last couple of elections, right?
Yeah, of course.
And even though I felt bad, I guess, that our league as a whole was getting this, it put a spark under us. You know what I mean? Collectively. It had everybody like, oh, we competitive, and we at now. It's been a lot of work for a lot of people, and I'm unbelievably proud of our guys. But now, what we got to do, Yellow?
Yeah. So again, that was my follow-up question. Like, so we experienced firsthand how the power that we have as athletes, right? We witnessed that. We was there. I can say that we was there, and we witnessed that firsthand of the amount of power we have. We was able to change that number drastically of the amount of players, or just NBA who's registered to vote. So we got that part. How can we use our power, continue to use our power in other areas, right? Because we just show how powerful we are. When it comes to getting everybody signed up, and registered to vote, when it comes to our boycott, protest, whatever we call that, our stoppage, we showed the power that we have. What's next for us as far as utilizing the power that we have as athletes?
And that's a real good question, and I think that's why we got to continue to have the conversations as a collective, right? Like obviously, all of us have like our individual agendas, things that we care about personally, but collectively we have to decide, and that's why it was even important that we had that call with the governors, right? To let them know how passionate we are about the George Floyd Bill Act, right? And so, which is huge. And we actually did a conversation a couple weeks ago with Representative Hakeem Jeffries, and just talking about what that looks like, in order to flip the Senate and stuff, So all of this stuff that we talk about doing as players, the bubble really showed us how strong we are as a collective, right? In our league, so much, we all so competitive that don't nobody do nothing together.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be a really big turning point. Like when we sit out by the pool, you know what I'm saying? When we sit out by the pool, all us sitting out there talking, like having a glass of wine, Yellow, that's unheard of, right? Because we all usually go our separate ways, but we got a chance to connect with each other like never before.
You I mean, a lot of us are passionate about different things. I think that's what makes you unique. Myself, you know, I mean, everybody, people, just athletes in general, or people in general. But in particular, voting, right, and just using your platform, you're very passionate about that. Did you always have that? Like, was that something that you were just like, man, I'm gonna do that one day, or it just happened naturally? Like, shit was happening, things wasn't going right, and you stepped up and used your voice and used your platform, and that just spearheaded, you know, the next thing that happened and the next thing that happened.
Yeah,
Talk to me about that.
I don't think I was always passionate about it like I am now, because I wasn't as educated on it, right? I was just like anybody else. I looked at politics and was like, man, that's bogus, that's fake. It ain't nothing about money, right? It's all about money. That's what I looked at. And then, like I said, when I joined When We All Vote, I really started diving into it, getting more educated on why this happens, why that happens. And that's what sparked my interest. And then I realized that we got a platform. Like we have people that we actually have a following, you know, that people actually care what we think and how we believe. And so what always made me try to be as responsible as possible with that type of, weight is Lil Chris and Cam, right? It's my kids. There are, like, Lil Chris, the way he is on TikTok, whatever, like there are influencers out there that can affect how he thinks or how he views things.
That's right? A fact.
It can get them passionate about a certain thing, right? So I was like, look, with the platform that I have, I can try to educate other kids who look like me, who may not be as educated like I wasn't educated, and maybe spark their interest and make sure they understand the importance of voting.
It's you mentioned your kids. Like, those conversations is not easy, right? And I mean, it's just not, right? Because a lot of the things they don't understand, and we got to figure out how to word certain things to them, and how to bring certain stories, you know, in front of them, and make them aware of what's going on. Because if we don't, we messing up this next generation. Well, we messing up the younger generation if all we do is just sit around and we complain and talk to them about just the shit that we going through and how bad it is, and the tension that we live with today, and so on and so forth. Everything that we see, it's very fragile on the things on how we present that to the youth. Do you find yourself in that situation, or you just find yourself, all right, cool, here it is. This is what's going on. That shit is wrong. This is wrong. That's wrong. That's cool. Like, how do you find yourself doing that?
Man, it's crazy, because, like, I know with Cayenne, I know you draw experience probably from your mom, and I love your mama to death, a lot more than I like you, just for the record. But I can only imagine sort of what it was like in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that you might have been exposed to, or what moms wasn't telling you, right? And so growing up, even for me and CJ, like, we knew what we needed to know, but I'm sure, like, watch news, because I felt like the news was all bad news, right? And so it's funny, like, when you have kids, and Lil Chris is like that a lot of times too. He don't like to watch the news. But me and Jay, we made a decision. It's like, we're gonna tell him. We have to. And the first time that we really just started being basically uncensored with them was the George Floyd incident, right? So I remember being in the bathroom with Cam and showing her the video and sort of explaining to her that, your brother is a young black man, right? And she started crying. She had tears, Yellow, and it was one of those moments where it was like, we got to do this. Like, we got to do this. They got to understand who they are, and that is different. It's different. As much as we want to say, like, you're not different. Like, yes, Chris, if you go somewhere, if you do something, you aren't Chris Paul's son. You know what I'm saying? You're just you're a young black man, and something can happen to you at any second. So I'm especially because my kids now, they're 11 and they're 8. I can have those conversations.
Let's talk about the social change fund for a minute. For those who may not know, we launched this early in the year. Myself, CP, D Wade. I'll let you jump into it. Let's share it with everybody how all of this came about, and what inspired us to start this.
You want me to answer, or you gonna answer?
I mean, I'm asking you the question. So
I see. I noticed that. But it's something that we actually doing together, my brother. So
right. So I'll give you my intake after you.
You know what's crazy, man? And I know we on here talking now, but I put that in the chat. I don't know if you've seen that in our little group conversation. Because we did that interview earlier and it was so dope. And I think it's dope because we get to do it together, right? Like we all been doing so much separately over the years, and we always congratulate each other, support each other, and whatever we all got going on. But coming to do this thing together, it was dope because it's bigger than any one of us, right? And to see the amount of reach that we've had in a short amount of time, right? Like when they presented us with that check early on that call, I mean, they wasn't gonna do that for just me. They wasn't gonna do that for just you know what I'm saying? Cheers to that too.
Right,
and
that's a fact.
To know that is going to a great cause and the stuff that we're passionate about, right? And to know that it didn't just stop with us three. The fact that we got Candace Parker, Donovan Mitchell, Michael Strahan, Chris Middleton, all these guys, like we're doing with the social change fund will end up being bigger than anything that any of us are doing on the court.
I think it's. I mean, for me, it was about us taking that next step and really making an impact where we have to. For so long, we've always said, "Yo, we want to do this, or we should do that." Everybody got ideas, but also everybody has their different lanes that they want to attack. And I think it was just so much that was going on just in our community, in our society, in our country, in the world, that it was like, damn, like now we really got to come to the table and really make serious change. Like enough talking about it. Like what are we really going to do? Who we want to impact? Yeah. And let's target those. Let's bring everybody in and build this kind of social change community. And you mentioned a couple of other people that's involved with Candace and CJ and Donovan and Chris Middleton. Like that's the next extension, right? We want them to extend out to other people to get them on board, because again, this is about community. And I think we really needed this, right? Because now we're getting older, and I do think this would be so impactful and powerful that people will be talking about this years later, more so than they actually talking about the basketball part of it. I mean, the basketball part of it is what it is. Our careers is what it is. But this social change fund, this is powerful. Like this is here forever. And yeah. I want people to understand why we really decided to do that and do it with us. And we also show that we could come together no matter what and make change and get some shit done. That's why I really, I really like this. I actually love this social change fund because there's so much opportunity. What you're into, I may not be into. D-Wade may not be into it, or Donovan got some other things that's going on. Candace may be into something else. But again, we all here for one another, where we can piggyback off of everybody and really make the change that we really need. So that's my take on the actual social change fund.
And coming off the heels of, it's crazy. Don't it feel like that was so long ago? But ESPYs?
Forever.
I feel like it was a long time ago, man. I think it's crazy. In our chat, we've been talking about it for a while too. We've been like, man, what's our action? We came up with this idea, that idea, and I think, it's better to be late and right than quick and wrong. You know what I mean? Right. And us sort of taking our time, figuring out what's the right thing to do. We found the perfect thing to do. I mean, that's sustainable, and I think that'll last.
I don't want to ask you no basketball questions because we deal with basketball and we talk about basketball all the time. Let's talk about you being the president of the NBPA. And when I'm saying that, I'm asking that because a lot of people may not know what goes into that job. That, you know, it's a lot. And honestly,
take a drink.
I've known you for a long time. I've known you when you first became the president of the PA. But to be down here and dealing in the bubble and dealing even before the bubble and dealing with putting all this together and getting parties together and getting conversations started and seeing things through from the beginning to the end, and knowing that some people are going to be upset and everybody's not going to be on the same page, and some people will be happy, some people is not. That part, it is what it is. But I think you don't get enough credit for being in that role as the president of the NBPA, because so much comes along with that. And you also got to cater to the players, you got to talk to the owners, you got to talk to the commissioner, you got to go out there and play. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you manage that?
Everybody can see who I talk to about this sometimes too. Man, you know what? I think these positions you never sort of prepare for it. You know what I mean? Like, you was on the executive committee for a while. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you realize that, I don't know, like it's a position of service. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's like a subliminal thing, like from my late grandfather, right? Or just trying to help people and trying to what you good at. Like I know that I have a unique ability to be able to sort of connect people, right? But I also know that I love to learn, right? So this position has gave me an opportunity to learn a whole lot. Shoot, I didn't learn a lot about myself. You know what I mean? One of the biggest things I had to learn about myself is that I'm able to put ego aside, right? And that's hard. That's real hard, especially when you got to talk to somebody you really don't fool with like that. You're like, oh man, I got to talk to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. And being a part of the union gave me an opportunity to understand, like, what's best for the collective, right? What's best for the greater good. And I don't know, it's been an unbelievable, like, privilege, right? Because it's not a right, it's a privilege. Chance to connect with so many guys that I would have never probably had a connection with over all these years. Like, I always talk about Dre. I always talk about Andre Iguodala. And I always say him because I played for the Clippers, he was with the Warriors. I played for Houston, he was with the Warriors. Like, ain't no way we should ever talk. Ain't no way we should basically ever like each other, man. But none of this. As you seen when we was in the meetings and we talked, it'd be me and Dre standing up there. Like, there's no way any of this happens or goes down without Dre. And so to know Anthony Tolliver, CJ McCollum, Jaylen Brown, all these different guys that's on our EC, man, it's been really, really dope.
Let's talk wine for a little bit. Just a couple questions on the wine.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to know what I know what you're drinking, but everybody else will know what you're drinking. What are you drinking? What's in your glass?
What's in my glass? I got this Ornella, right? It's 06. Nice little something. May or may not be a little tipsy. It's real hot out here right now. But 06, I think that's when I won Rookie of the Year. So
yep,
take it back a little bit.
Oh, so you opened that for you saved that for a special occasion, huh? The 06.
Exactly. This is a special occasion right here with my brother.
Listen, that's what I was insinuating. I appreciate that. I'm drinking rim as you know, CP. You know, you're a fan of this. This is Realm Cellars. It's called Abstract. I mean Absurd. I'm sorry. Realm is for me is actually a really great wine, big, bold California wine, but it's very good to me. Honestly, it's very, very good. You guys should try it. See, you like red or white wine?
This is kind of. I like red. I'll have wine depending on what I'm eating or whatnot, but this is sort of like a dry red, right? Like a medium blend.
Yes.
I really like Italian wine. really.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. On the line is good, very good though. On the line is very good. Do you like let me see. You said you like red wine over white wine. Favorite region? Italian. Italy, obviously.
Right. Man, I can me and Jay went to Italy, what was it, a couple years ago? A couple years ago. That was the first time I've been. And I ain't want to leave. Like
Favorite place in the world?
Yeah. I played with Bellinelli. And so obviously we talked about Italy all the time, but then I got paired with Gallo this year. Right. So anytime me and Gallo went to dinner, anything, it was Sassicaia. It was Sassicaia.
Sassicaia, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love Sassicaia. Do you like you're a champagne guy?
Not that much. Not really.
Little spritzer. You like spritzers?
He said little spritzers.
I know Jay been there making you spritzers, man.
No, that's out. That's out. That's out. That's out.
You like old world or new world? Like you like Napa or you like, France, Bordeaux or Burgundy or Napa?
I really like. I go up there. I also like French. I like Bordeaux. You know what I mean? I like that. I'm kind of balanced, man. I like rosés.
You are a rosé guy. I forgot that you are a rosé guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's, like we talk about wines or whatnot. A lot of times it depends on who you with. You know what I'm saying? Like depends on the vibe and what's happening with what you're doing. And I don't know. Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question. This gonna say a lot. This question right here gonna say a lot. Your answer gonna say a lot.
Here we go.
If we was at dinner and you have the wine list, what are you picking?
Oh man, depends on
it's us though. It's us four. It's us four. We at dinner, best restaurant. Well, you got the wine list first. What are you picking?
Got the wine list first. Depends on the occasion. Depends on the occasion. And
you just open the 06. Open the 06 on the line for what's in your glass. So all four of us get together. And I got some special.
But I also might start with a nice little like duck horn or something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Okay. With us, yeah, with us, we may have something like you sort of build. You know what I mean? So
okay, so if you're not okay,
then you next.
No, so my next question is, you have the wine list last bottle of the night. Great night. We've had some incredible wines. What are you closing it with?
Let's see. What am I closing it with? Oh man. What am I closing it with? I mean, I got some 85 in there the year I was born and whatnot. So you know how I am with Sassicaia.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure.
So you were closing with 85 Sassicaia.
Yeah, 85 Sassicaia.
Which is an unbelievable bottle, for sure.
Yeah,
for unbelievable grapes.
Listen, I turned 35 this year. That's what I had on my 35th birthday.
What you gonna have for your 36?
It's a good question. What you feeling this way? What we gonna be for 36? That's the question.
We send something over there for you.
Yeah, where I'm gonna be for 36? We gonna be in a boat. Where we gonna be?
Ain't no telling. I'll tell you that. There's no telling. But see, I appreciate you, man. I ain't gonna hold you. I appreciate you jumping on what's in your glass, man, and talking about when we all vote and social change fund and just your role as the president of the NBPA and just your impact that you're having on not just our community, but the athletes and the, NBA players and athletes, across